The real ID can still be revoked. It's not too late. Here at Resurrect America, we are joining with leaders of all levels, from Washington, D.C., all the way to the White House, the halls of Congress, those in governor's offices here in the Midwest, state and local legislators, and Christian leaders, leaders of the veterans organizations, and others. As one of the states still resisting the real ID, we've done a tremendous amount of research, and we fully understand that this came from a UN resolution that preceded 9/11, and that catalyst of 9/11 became the gear changer the folks from the United Nations were waiting for. They had put the real ID into their resolution in 1992, stating that they would do aggressive and rigorous tracking of all human life on the planet. They authorized the World Bank, the organization in the Middle East, and some computer organizations in France and Russia and other places in the EU to monitor the lives of all Americans and others on all continents. Their purposes are for banking and other reasons as well. Population control. In any disaster where people would choose to flee, run for their lives, they would be hindered and held within their state borders at checkpoints, not given the liberty to decide for themselves what was best in such a situation. If you do not have a real ID, you could not drive a car after 2020. You would not be able to fly domestically, as people are experiencing right now. It started in 2018. You would not be able to get on an international flight, as people are now experiencing, without your passport being updated. If the passport is not updated, then the real ID situation trumps it. And if it is not updated, then you will not be allowed to fly. You have to have your ID match. The chip has to match in the passport. This is what you click on. We already have 71 people that have clicked, but we need to have 100,000 by the 17th of August. This doesn't get you in any trouble with the government. The Johnson Act has been wiped out as well, so nobody should be fearful of making this go viral and helping us all. It says repeal Real ID Act, forbid foreign entities via UN resolution after the Patriot Act of monitoring American citizens and our travel. You can also donate, and this screen will go blank here for just a second. And when you donate, you'll get a tax receipt, and you'll be helping us publish, travel, hold events that get the message out, prepare the documents that are needed for Congress. If you sign this Real ID Act, then you will be assisting us also in bringing 100,000 votes, a very strong statement, straight to the White House, straight to the desks of Congress and Senate, and that's a great footprint to come in then with a paper resolution in our hands. This paragraph talks about how our founding fathers would never have imagined that their hard-fought battle for liberty would 3 centuries later be so severely compromised by offshore powers of the old world to be embraced by our government in rigorously tracking United States citizens. See below the snapshots of the United Nations in 1992 projecting an intense plan to vigorously track the identity and movements of our free people almost a decade before 9/11 ever hit. There's also an organization called Addis Ababa in the Middle East that are running computers. So those over in the Middle East were set up to run computers for your Real ID license before this crisis ever hit. Here's a paragraph out of a 70-some page document from the UN from that 1992 resolution stating that the World Bank would be put in charge of these computers, and this online platform would be installed, and it was being instituted and assigned to them. Here's another paragraph out of that 70-page document whereby it is talking about launching this very aggressive program. Here are more paragraphs talking about how they're going to take the burden of the nations and the states off their shoulders and house this all in one place for the auspices of the UN to govern it. You can see the United Nations logos on this resolution. We're telling you the truth, folks. And where this Real ID is headed, let's go back to that page for a minute. I want to show you, and here up at the top you can tell somebody just go to ResurrectAmerica.com and click on the star. If you refuse to get the Real ID driver's license by October 1st, 2020, here's the list of what you'll not be allowed to do. It could even throw you in a jail cell if you're caught without it, trying to drive. How do you obtain this? When do you obtain it? By October 1st, 2020 is the last deadline. And then it says, but those who carry the Real ID will be tracked by digital P-Stub chip and a code on it because of the Real ID Act of 2005. And then it says your data of your location, your finances, your education, past and current marital status, debts, any criminal records, and more will be instantly available to any entity that has been awarded permission to demand presentation of your license in order to enter a building or participate in an activity. Here's a copy of the Massachusetts driver's license. You can go on to Google and find them from every state, and look where the P-Stub chip is, right on the forehead parallel. There's also, when you look at these cards up close, an indented number in the chin that is not your Social Security number. Now look at this blank square space in the lower right corner of the license. That's where obviously somebody had originally intended a part of the design. But this migrated in a rider on a military bill after the members of Congress passed it in 2005 in the Real ID Act, spinning off the heels of the Patriot Act, all of them thinking they were doing something good to protect life after the horrible emergency crisis of 9/11. Well, look, that's been left naked. What has replaced it? This light-weighted digital chip. It's called the P-Stub chip. And this is the focus of what was in that resolution. It will get much heavier weighted, and it will go into more evolutions of how it will be used. They say that it's going to go into the cell phones, and then eventually, of course, we all know they're going to try to plant it in foreheads or hands or whatever. We're hearing this is already being done in the EU. I always heard that someday the biblical prophecies would come to pass, that there would be a mark of a beast, a chip, something with this type of activity on the forehead. I was very shocked to see that it's there on the forehead parallel, and as you go online to Google, some of them are slid right over onto the forehead. Here you can look up the entire resolution, help yourself to reading it. Here's the name of the resolution that was passed at the UN, and this is out of Article 6.9. This is the SDGC. Now this is the resolution that we are presenting to members of Congress, and if you go up to the top and you click on the Contact tab right here, then you can sign up and we will send you a full copy of that resolution. You can take it to your local state senator. You can join us in Washington. We're going to be making appointments to visit all of the members of Congress there. This is what it's all about, and then if anyone is interested in donating, we would deeply appreciate it, because there will be much to put in paper publication. All kinds of things have expenses, the communications that are involved, the travel that's involved, renting out event spaces. So here's where you go to GoFundMe, Revoke Real ID, or you can just go on to the RevokeRealID.com site, and it will give you all the information that you could possibly need. You can study this for many hours. The links will lead you to very interesting articles. There's one by Mike Lerner, who has done a tremendous job of researching all the issues I just mentioned. It also tells you all about the federal police force that is being formed. We're not for that either. That would radiate the sentiments of what Hitler and Mussolini and others have done in the past, and that would not be a good thing. But that's what has been proposed in order to monitor these Real ID licenses and chips. This movie is excellent. You can watch it. The girl's done a very good job talking all about this. But recently, when we put it out in public, it was blocked and on Wikipedia. So these are problems that show where the sentiments may lie in those organizations. And that's not a comfortable feeling for anyone. So be praying much. Get in touch with us on the contact tab if you would like any more information. Also, America Restored has got some good articles. If you click down here in this portion of it, a lady named Tommy Collins that works with Rodney Howard-Browne. I met her through teaching at the School of Government there at Rodney's campus in Tampa. She has also done a good job right here in this section. So God bless everybody. We need you all on board. Make this go viral. And please to click on this resolution. Help us get this before the president. We had someone on our call last night that was listening from Washington, several of them. And I know that when people fully understand this situation, they will be then, at that point, very apt to speak to his ears and to the ears of others that have the power to turn this thing around. We need an awakening. Can we stop it forever? I don't know. Can we stop it for 4 or 5 years to get the awakening and millions of souls saved? Yes. Is this preemptive? Yes. I think it's trying to take place before the timing of God, and I believe with great faith that we will trample on serpents and scorpions and over all the power of the enemy, and we will provide another window of time for another great awakening. So God bless all of you.